Hello friends, this is Dana Arcuri from danaarcuri.com, author, speaker, survivor, and advocate. Today's topic is timely, educational, and valuable content, especially for those dealing with harassment, online or in-person bullying and stalking. And so today's title is The Psychology of Bullies and Stalkers. And so I've always been intrigued by psychology, and I'm not new at this whole thing with being bullied and harassed and silenced and censored and stalked. This isn't my first rodeo, people. Nevertheless, I've done some research on this very intriguing topic of the psychology behind a stalker, behind the person who is bullying others, whether it is in person or online. So let's dive into this deep topic. We're going to first start with the definition of stalking, and then from there we'll go into the signs and different statistics and helpful tips for you if you need to protect yourself from violent stalkers and bullies. So, according to the freedictionary.com, stalking is defined as, quote unquote, criminal activity consisting of the repeated following and harassment of another person when their actions are intent to instill fear, emotional anguish, and or injury. It constitutes illegal behaviors. And so we're really getting into now different state laws. And if you want to know the nitty-gritty on your state law for bullying and stalking and what you can do about it, you may need to go to your own state's website to get the facts. But overall, we're going to talk about the statistics and then the helpful tips to guide you on your healing journey and to stay safe. Safety comes first, people. Safety comes first. Okay, so here we go. In a 2014 survey published by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, 80% of stalking survivors reported that they knew their stalker in some way. So when we start looking at, who are the people who are harassing and bullying and stalking one or more people, we discover it could be your ex-spouse. It might be someone that you met on social media. It could be a narcissist, flying monkeys. It may also be an ex-intimate partner, someone maybe who you broke off the relationship, you saw the red flags and said, adios, amigo, and they don't take no for an answer. And so they start bullying you, stalking you, and so forth. We must also understand that bullies and stalkers could actually be our own family. Yes, we're talking toxic siblings, parents, relatives, and on it goes. And lastly, it could be that you met this person at work, maybe a volunteer position, maybe at church, maybe in your neighborhood, or you went to school or college with them. And that's how you met this person who ended up becoming a stalker. So when we get into other information, it's extremely important to understand that there are studies that have found that anger, insecurity, and impulsiveness are traits that may stem from this stalker and bully's childhood. So very early on in their childhood, they may have started these very malicious behaviors themselves. Maybe they were bullying little kids in the schoolyard. They never grew up. And oh my goodness, now they're adults and they're still up to their dirty old schemes. We have to understand that oftentimes they are loners, they have no friends, and they lack social skills. In reality, stalking is a form of abuse. Current or former intimate partners of both the most common type of stalker and other are most dangerous stalkers. So a lot of times we do hear about different people in Hollywood and they're being stalked by someone who isn't, falling for them. There might be this beautiful movie star and some guy who has deep insecurities and he's a loner just kind of clutches on to her. He doesn't know her, but he has like this fantasy, like he's way out there. We're talking totally sociopathic, okay? He has these fabricated ideas in his mind where he may be hallucinating and thinking that she likes him. And so there's a lot that goes into the psychology of these stalkers. In addition, an estimated 60.8% of women who responded to the 2014 CDC survey reported that they were currently or previously in a romantic relationship with this stalker. Research shows up that 80% of people in abusive relationships have been stalked within that relationship. All right, so why don't we get to the nitty-gritty of the common signs, traits, and characteristics of a bully and stalker? It's a long list, people. Let's go for this ride. Woo! There's a lot to learn about these very unhealthy people. Number one, they could have borderline personalities. They have aggression, hostility, they have a violent nature. They're very insecure. They have a very low confidence. Next, they're jealous. They're envious. They have seething rage. They're explosive. They have sadistic urges. They're delusional, easily bruised egos, psychotic behaviors, manipulative. A lot of times they do a lot of gaslighting, a lot of trying to scare you, a lot of covert tactics trying to scare you and silence you. They're pathological liars. You can't trust them. Never, ever, never trust them because there's nothing that comes out of their mouth that's true. They hate women. I mean, really, when it comes down to the males that are stalkers and bullies, a lot of them, they just despise women in general. Next, there are some stalkers and bullies that are rapists. So they have committed sexual crime. Some have actually gone to prison or did a little jail time or a little community service, a little legal situations in which they were in trouble for domestic violence. They have no boundaries and they will not respect your boundaries. They're verbally abusive, but they could also be violently abusive too. They're control freaks. Typically, these people are pathetically socially inadequate, and they may be like the lone wolf. They don't have a lot of friends. And then there are other stalkers. Remember, there's a flip side to this. There are other stalkers that on the outside, they have fooled the community. They have fooled their friends and their work coworkers to think that they got it all together, but so they might have friends and they might have a marriage. They might have a professional background, but behind the closed door, oh, they're as narcissistic and sociopathic and delusional as can be. Next, we have to understand these are impulsive, reckless people. They typically are self-centered. They're egotistical. They have no sympathy and no empathy whatsoever for anyone. They're small-minded, low vibrational people who are like emotional vampires who try to suck the energy in life out of anyone who they could clutch their hands onto. Okay, so this is the traits of most bullies and stalkers. Let's move on now to psychotic stalkers are disconnected from reality. They can have detailed delusions about being in a relationship with specific people, including their ex-girlfriends, even strangers, acquaintances, celebrities, or colleagues. So like I mentioned before, there could be someone, maybe they worked with you, and one time you sat and drank coffee with them and they suddenly think that you two have this intimate relationship. This is what I'm talking about. So as you can understand, these people who are harassing you and stalking you, whether it is online, face-to-face, or it could be both, the cyberbullying and stalking, they just are so far out of reality. Next is the delusional stalkers often don't realize that what they're doing is wrong. They are oblivious to their toxic criminal behaviors. Oftentimes they are convinced that others are just not able to understand them. They just don't understand. Well, she sat and had coffee with me. Well, she texted me one time, or she liked my Facebook post. And they suddenly have this grand delusion, almost like they're bipolar and they're like off in another world, like they're in the Twilight Zone, and they think because someone liked their Facebook post or someone had coffee with them, or maybe someone even commented on their Twitter post, that this person likes them or this person's into them. When the truth is, they don't even know each other. They barely even know each other. And I guarantee that chick's not into him. Next is helpful tips if you are being bullied and stalked. So here are really educational and helpful tips. And the first one is stay safe. Okay, safety is the number one priority. Number two is never engage. So whenever they're harassing you and stalking you, especially if it is like this whole cyberbullying, cyber stalking, don't fight. Don't respond. So you will not engage with them at all. If they try to communicate with you, whether it's by text messaging, emails, through social media, do not respond. If they come to your home or your workplace, or they know somewhere that you will be and they show up unexpectedly, call 911 immediately. Your safety comes first. Next, document everything. So this could be something that's ongoing. I know like 7 years ago when I was being stalked by an absolute psycho from Nevada, that I had to collect a lot of data and evidence. And so this isn't my first rodeo. I've been around the block several times with narcissists, bullies, harassment, stalking. Oh my goodness, I could write a book just on that topic, people, and don't even tempt me because I might. Next is that, we document everything. So you do screenshots of their messages, their maliciousness, anything. Just start snapping pictures, people. It's all evidence. If they write terrible, horrible, manipulative threats, comments, and so forth, again, document everything, whether it is online, whether it's in person. If it's in person, really, truly get your phone out and videotape them. You don't necessarily need to have the video facing them. Just what you want is the recording. You want to record the conversation. If they call you on the phone, number one, I don't think you should even permit someone such as a bully or a stalker to call you on the phone, but we'll get to that in a minute. But if for any reason this would happen, put it on speakerphone and start recording. Record the conversation, people. This is your legal evidence. You might need it in court someday. Next would be that there are legal purposes involved, okay? Because this is a crime in most states and countries, this is so crucial that you're documenting along this whole entire experience. You're just going to have paperwork and so much evidence in your favor. Next is that you may at some point need to hire an attorney. I'll get to that at the end to give you some tips on what you're looking for as far as legal assistance. Next is, I think you should change your phone number. Change your cell phone number. Of course, block everybody. Block all the stalkers and bullies and anyone who's harassing you. Block them on your phone. But I really believe that the next best step is just get a new phone number. It doesn't cost you any money. All you have to do is call whoever you have your cell phone through, what have you, or even if you have a landline phone, maybe both phones, change both phone numbers and let the company know. So just say it's Verizon. You have a cell phone through Verizon. Let Verizon know that you're being stalked and harassed. You won't have to pay a penny to change your phone number. Next is that while your phone number and your address may be private, let's just take this up a notch and understand that people who are covert, manipulative, people who are bullying you, harassing you, and stalking you, they will go to great lengths to pay for a website that will give them your private information. So people could easily just go to Google and type in your name and find out your phone number, your address, your workplace, where you used to live, what you used to do, and your relatives. So do yourself a favor. Sometime this weekend, Google yourself and find out what information shows up. Don't be surprised. Trust me, you have a lot of information on Google. I already know. I've already visited it. It's really interesting to see what they show and know that, there are companies out there, hey, they're looking for a quick buck, and those psychos who are stalkers will pay a big price to find out where you live. Next is report and block the bullies and the stalkers. So if you're on social media, and we're just going to say, for instance, Facebook, and you notice this repeated offense, repeatedly this person is lashing out at you, they're sending you private messages, they're disliking your post, they're really rude, crude, and they're saying really, really vile things about you. Number one, screenshot everything. So you're going to take screenshots. Number two, document everything. Get the dates, the time, the person. Find out more information about them. There you go. Do a little information and start Googling them. Find out who they are. But here's something that's also really important that you know in advance. Most people who are stalkers, they have an alias account. They're smart. They're not going to use their real name. They're not going to use their real email when they email you. Or if they're on their phone and texting you, they have a lot of different phone numbers, alias accounts on social media. They have so many alias emails. Okay, so anytime you get anything that's suspicious, keep it, document it. Save it for another day because you might land in court. You never know when you're going to need this. Next is that you might want on social media to set your account to private. Now, this is something I had to do about a year ago. And this is something that, we have to really do whatever it takes to protect our privacy. Now, I don't really consider myself, because I am an author and a speaker, most people know that an author is a public person. So I am a public person. Unfortunately, some people do take advantage of that, including the flying monkeys, the toxic siblings, and on it goes. So we have to do whatever it takes to put a hedge of protection around ourselves. Because again, it's crucial that our safety is our first priority. Next is that, now, if the stalker is a family member, okay, so if you are related to this person or you suspect it is a relative, now this is called family law. It's under family violence, domestic violence. All you have to do is let your fingers do the walking, people. Go onto Google or get out your yellow pages the old-fashioned way, or just get on the computer, your cell phone, and start investigating locally family law. And you're looking for stalking and harassment because there are specific laws in place stipulated for this crime. And let's get back to the basics again. FYI, stalking and bullying is a legal crime in most states and countries. Okay, next, if this is not your relative, okay, so let's just give another example. The person stalking you, you're not related to them. You might not even know them, or it might be someone who you cross paths maybe very briefly on social media. Okay, now we're getting into criminal law. So again, you're going to hire an attorney who practices and specializes in criminal law for stalking and harassment. So those are the words that you type when you're trying to find information for legal assistance. Now, if for any reason you believe or know for a fact that you are being bullied, harassed, and stalked, you can call Stalking Resource Center at the National Center for Victims of Crimes and get your paper and pen out, people, because here's the phone number. 855-484-2846. I'll leave the link down below for you if you need any of these resources. But again, you need to do your homework. You know, for all those people, I get a lot of people, and while I thank you and I'm honored and humbled that you reach out to me and say, please help me, please help me, please help me. Let's make it real clear. Number one, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not an attorney. Okay, I don't work in the legal industry. Therefore, you really do need a professional who could be coming to your assistance legally, and or emotional support is really beneficial for those who are being stalked, harassed, and bullied. So please, please, please do your own research. You know, the number one thing about like healing and boundaries and anyone who's dealing with like narcissists and flying monkeys and toxic people, including stalkers, is that you have to become your own advocate. You have to do the work. You know, while yes, you can ask someone for help, understand that I am not a legal expert nor a mental health expert. I am a person who's been there and done that. I have been stalked. I have been bullied. I have been harassed. That is a whole other story in itself. We might save that for another day, people. Yet, we know that there are laws on our side. And today I ask you to please be safe. Protect yourself on social media. Protect yourself wherever you live. If you are feeling fearful or feel like someone is threatening you, please call 911 and hire yourself an attorney. In the meanwhile, if you want more educational information and inspiration, you could go to my website at danaarcuri.com. Thanks and have an awesome day.